All right, just like that, I think we're back.
We're back.
Mr.
Episode
Williams, how
2.
you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. The weather is a lot better than the last episode that we recorded. We don't have any snow. We have great temperatures. Let's go.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
We're in different locations this time. You're still in Georgia. I'm back in New York, but we
Yes.
gotta keep the episodes going, right?
We got to keep it going, man. We got too much to say to slow down.
True, true. Okay, so we got a new topic today. We got a topic I think people will really like. Because me
Hmm.
and you, we've been talking about a lot of things that I feel like falls under this bucket lately of music and culture. And part of the time, I think we were having so good conversations. We were like, all right, let's cut it out. Let's save this for the podcast. We need
Yeah.
some content for the second episode. But like we said last time, right? This whole concept of this podcast is if I knew then what I know now. You know, we have a father son relationship, but I feel like there's a
Hmm.
lot of valuable lessons from this generational gap and this generational wisdom both ways.
Hmm.
And I'll say this, right? In this stage of my life, the thing I've been obsessed with now is I'm just really interested in learning how you felt when you were my age or when you were in my stage of life. And I'm just interested to know, how did you deal with this stage of life? But even on top of that, I'm interested to know, okay, when dad was my age, what type of music was he listening to get him through the day? Uh, what type of stuff were him and his friends doing on the weekend? Where did they get in trouble?
Right.
That sort of thing. Because I know you were getting in trouble. But that's my question for you that I kind of want to start this off with, right? When you were in my age, in your mid 20s, or just, leaving college, what were you listening to? What were you and your friends doing on the weekend for fun? What did life look like for you, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah. When after college, you're referring to after college when I was about your age.
Yeah, let's talk about that phase. Either or you can talk about some of at college, but definitely after college too.
Yeah, it was a different vibe, for when we talk about my era in college. It was an era where it was a lot of excitement and energy out there when I went to school in the late 70s. I mean, the very late 70s, really about the 80s. There was a lot of emerging R&B was shifting. It was changing, going from R&B to shifting to hip hop, right?
Mhm.
But it was just before hip hop, and before the hip hop era, all the dancing, the locking, and all the dancing. It was just so energetic, and I think a lot of it came out of New York. You're in New York. A
Mhm.
lot of
Right.
the hip hop emerged out of New York with some of the hip hop, the rappers that the emerging rappers. Uh, some of the rappers that I remember, nobody knows anymore.
Mhm.
Nobody would know those rappers. The Sugar Hill Gang. Have you ever heard of them?
Of course, I've heard of it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you or the podcast. I'm not familiar with the catalog. Don't ask me about no Sugar Hill Gang, but I've heard of them before.
Oh, it was like, wow, what is this? What is this thing? Rapping, and it was soft rap.
Yeah.
We there was no controversial lyrics. It was just all upbeat, happy, go lucky lyrics, and we were into it, right? That was college era, and then it was, of course, there was the iconic Michael Jackson at the height of his stardom, I would say. And I remember vividly those songs in my ear, uh, still today, from Michael Jackson's "Off the Wall" and "Beat It," and those iconic albums. You got one on the wall, don't you?
It's funny. It's funny you say that because I was just listening to, I got a record player for Christmas. I'm going vintage,
Oh
and
yes.
I was just listening to the Bad album.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
so this is a little later. This
A
is
little
you.
bit later.
We're getting to lighter form of
Yes.
Michael Jackson at this point, light skin
Yeah.
wise, but still good
No,
music
no,
for sure.
no pun intended. The lighter,
The lighter
version.
version.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but he was iconic, and he was still trending big time in in music and R&B. He was doing something different. It was all party music, and when I was in college, it was still about the party. But
And so
let's
like
transition.
when you went out to like the party, was this like actually a good way to meet people? Like, were you meeting people at the party? Also, I feel like at the parties you were going to, people were probably actually dancing. Like,
That's
what's
right.
the vibe? Because everybody says now when dudes go to a party, it's just like, oh, everybody just wants to stand on the wall,
Yeah,
that sort of
that is a
thing.
good point. That's a
Was
good
that sort
point.
of thing like when people went to a party where you guys like kind of chilling, standing on the wall, or is it like everybody's getting out and dancing?
Yeah, yeah. When we talk about in terms of if I knew then what I know now, uh, that I would probably went to more parties. It was it was because that what you're saying is true. Those parties were very high energy. You go into the room and it's the blue lights. So there used to be this whole thing we talk about blue light in the basement parties where you had literally had a blue light and you walk into the room and nobody's on the wall, everybody's dancing, right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah, yeah,
nonstop. It's nonstop. It's just electrifying. And so, yeah, so those parties were powerful, and those parties were typically house parties. There have been movies made about that. Back in the day, some of the vintage movies. I think one was called House Party, if I'm not mistaken. But that's really
I
what they
have
were
seen
trying
that
to
movie.
depict. You have seen that movie, yeah.
Is this
So
the one
that's what
with
they were.
what's the rap group?
Yes, I can't remember,
Kid and
but
Play.
yeah, Kid and Play. Yeah,
That's a good movie. That's a good
yeah.
movie.
And so they were trying to, depict that whole feeling, that vibe, and it was really powerful. Where it wouldn't cost any money, just to come to a house and spin some records, and everybody's dancing and and having a good time late into the wee hours of the night or the morning, and no one got shot, no one got stabbed, yeah.
And
No one got
I
no.
guess that's a good thing.
Yes, I think it's a good thing,
It's a good
and it was
thing.
just good. It was just good fun. There are people highly intoxicated, of course, but
Yeah.
there was not much damage done even to the house. But that was the college era. And then as I shifted and transitioned from college, when we talk about music, um, then the vibe started changing, right? Because you've been talking a little bit about this. I was really starting embracing more jazz, more
Mm.
jazz music. Jazz was the thing. And one of my favorite artists was absolutely Sade. She had this jazzy sound that takes you to another place, and you don't care about all the bills that you owe. You just chill. It was a chill
I
type of.
need that. Send me some of that right now.
Yeah, it's like a chill type of era that the jazz would put you in this mood to kind of chill out and just kind of relax a little bit. So it was just it
Mm.
slowed you down, and gave you time to kind of do some reflection about where you want to go, and what you were doing with your life. So yeah, that's how I would kind of describe. Now, how is that different from knowing what you know
Yeah.
about what happened, how things went then? How what do you take away from that when you can make the comparison between where your era?
I mean, I definitely think like so when I was at college, it was still still on the weekend you're probably going out to some sort of party. Um, I think it's probably was like at least from my college experience, it might be a way where you meet some people. You probably meet some new people on the weekend, but I feel like now there might be I don't know, maybe parties just weren't my thing all the way in college too. Like I feel like maybe I was meeting other people in different ways too. But now it's different too, like we said, because you have social media. So it's
Right.
like people might meet at parties now, but you I don't know, you might just meet people on a dating app instead. You might
Mm,
meet people just on social media, or parties might be kind of different because it's like you know you might have seen people on social media before at the party, so sometimes it's kind of awkward. It's like, oh, we kind of know each other but we maybe don't know each other, whereas before you might go to a party and it's just a fresh slate. Like if you don't know them,
Mm.
you never seen them, you don't know them, that sort of thing. But I agree with what you said. I feel like we talked about this before. I think post college, I do feel like I'm kind of at that age where like the vibe has shifted a little bit music wise. And this is, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I made some jokes about this in stand up, but it's tough for me because like growing up, I've always like I've liked R&B, I've liked different types of music, but hip hop has always been my choice of music. Like especially growing up playing basketball, that sort of thing. I
Mhm.
feel like especially hip hop and music are so intertwined culture wise these days that you know that was where I got a lot of influence for style, a lot of influence for just the cool factor of things. I feel like in my for me in my experience, I've always thought like, okay, how are rappers phrasing their experience? Like, what is their style? That sort of thing. Even though they have much more money than I do, and they might be flashier, or I don't model my lives after them, but I feel like there's some sort of inspiration there. But it's a little tricky right now because I think there's no there's no there's no surprise that rap artists aren't like the best role models in
Uh-huh.
aggregate, right? You got some
Right.
sectors of like certain type of rappers. You got, I like a lot of Christian rappers. I would say those people are good role models now. But a lot of these, rappers now, you probably don't want to live lives like them. Like it's
Oh,
very, very, a ton of drugs. They're not necessarily living healthy lives. They're making a lot of money, but they don't talk about women. Uh, in a good way most times. So I feel like
hmm,
that can kind of mess with people's heads and how they think about women sometimes. So yeah, part of me is like I've been going through this phase where I either have to find new types of rap music
hmm,
or get into different genres that match my stage of life a little bit. And I always like hip hop music, I still do, but it's just like there's a little bit of a disconnect for me right now where
yeah.
I just feel like I'm in more of a stage of life where it's like the same type of stuff I was listening to before isn't necessarily what I'm listening to now. But I will say this, and I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. Rap music, I think, because of the lyrics and just
Hmm,
how intentional and strategic it can be lyrically, I think it has the power to like really resonate on a strong level with people or
yeah.
really be used for good or for like, powerful movements. I think we've seen that historically with hip hop where it's been a voice of a revolution or it's been the voice of kind of bucking against
Hmm,
society and the normal trend is been very revolutionary in style,
yeah.
and I think it still can be. And sometimes when I listen to other forms of music, like it's there, but I don't feel the punch as heavily of like good lyrical rap music where you really got to sit down and break down like what they just said and feel the power of it.
Hmm,
What do you feel like that with music? Like, do you remember
yeah.
any big musical times where it's like, wow, that was a statement album. That was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
whether it was politically, that pushed the society forward a little bit.
Yeah, the lyrics, it's always been about the lyrics to me, I think, in music. But like you, I agree with you that, when we talk about the rap music and contemporary rap, it's a lot more clever
Yeah.
than maybe Sugar Hill Gang, who just came and they had this, these beats that didn't really mean much,
Nah, I feel you.
just yeah, Hotel Holiday Inn, you know,
I mean,
um,
people got music like that now too. Like
yeah,
people, I
yeah,
mean, people always want to make fun of mumble rap, but some rappers literally they're not saying anything. It's just kind of
right,
like the vibe, the feel,
yeah,
which is cool too. Everything has its purpose, but yeah. So I feel what you mean on that.
yeah. But it's not something I have to really, dig real deep to interpret. Is what I'm saying.
Right, right, right.
So you have helped me understand the creativity in some of the most egregious lyrics that I probably wouldn't listen to. Right? I probably wouldn't listen to, but it has always been about the lyrics, but like I said, the lyrics in the past that really were political statements or social statements were more in your face. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I think about people like Marvin Gaye. He will sing a song about what's going on. He's talking about what's going on with uh, our climate, you know, with war and all the things that they were, you know, he was singing about. And there was no guessing in his music. He told you exactly what his feelings were, and the emotion still it conjures up still emotions,
right.
and you have this feeling with the music. So the music is always put you in a place where you feel a certain thing about a certain thing that's going on in society or some sort of social ills or whatever. That's always been the case. It's just a different iteration with the music that you're talking about
Yeah,
today that is different. And depends on your generation. If it's, you know, like I say, if it's palatable to you or not. You know, if you can,
I
you
feel
know,
like some of the music from this generation is a little. I think it. I think it's been a little easier. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's a little easier for me to maybe dig some of the music from your generation and be like, oh, okay, I can see the vibes here. I can get there. Than
yeah.
maybe for you to get into some of the music from my generation.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But let's, we can talk about, you know, you and I having conversations, and there's been some, artists that I didn't appreciate until we had these conversations.
Right.
That's what this. If I knew then what I know now, I have a better appreciation for people like Kanye West with his
Right.
lyrical genius, I would call it, because I'm an artist too. I went to art school, went to SCAD, and I appreciate art,
Yeah.
right? And that in his artistry is something I grew to appreciate after I started to listen to the lyrics deeper and see how clever and how clever the lyrics were, and how, getting past the things that I didn't like
Yeah.
about, the language, I could see the message in there embedded
Yeah.
into it. That right? So I
I
think
got a
that's
lot
something
of.
we
I
all.
think people kind of sleep on hip hop. I think people all the time, you know, don't give it the credit for how intelligent of an art form it is. Even for some of the rap that maybe isn't as like, you know, look as intellectual. I think
Yeah.
if anybody tried to, like, for instance, just for fun, this past weekend I tried to just make a rap song. Like I was bored, had time. I was like, it's easy for me to just hear someone's song and be like, yo, that's trash. Like
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
terrible. But I think you
Yeah.
get a more appreciation for something when you try to do it. So
Yeah.
I mean, I tried for hours just kind of like writing down, and it's hard enough just finding a word that rhymes with it, but
Yeah.
actually having that be something that is a coherent thought. You know, it's a form of poetry. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of times, you know, we don't really give rap music that sort of credit of like not only the production side, because a lot of time the producers are also doing really talented work on the production side, but you know, lyrically putting together thoughts in a way that not only rhymes but you know flows together and sonically
Hmm.
sounds good. That's
Yeah.
hard enough to do just speaking normally, but
Sure.
really hard to do it in a different way. So I feel you on that. Also, it's funny you had brought up Marvin Gaye as being someone who you know was talking about things,
Hmm.
was asking societal questions. I don't know if you've seen this like meme or this funny thing where
Hmm.
everybody was like, "Man, Marvin Gaye was just he must
Hmm.
have just been confused with what was going on in the world because of some of these song titles. He's always asking questions. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen
I
that
mean,
meme.
so I'll read a few of his song titles right now. What's going on? What's
Yes.
happening, brother? When did you stop loving me? Where are we going? I don't know why. Why did I choose you?
All questions.
Everybody's like, he's just like, yo, what is happening right now? But I think that's what a lot of these good artists do is their music gives you a little bit of a look into where they are in life,
Yeah.
and if they're really good, it gives you a scope into how a lot of people are feeling in
Yeah.
this time. You know, and
It,
sometimes
it,
it's
it's
really deep.
yeah.
Sometimes it's just
Oh
you
yeah.
know surface level.
Yeah. Marvin Gaye's was his music was about elevating people's awareness
Yeah,
about what's going on, right? And that look around, what's going on. And so he always wanted to elevate people's conscious about, the societal woes that we have in America. You know, and then going back to some of the artists, like I said, that I can appreciate now. Not that I, you know, I listened to a lot of it, but I, you know, there was artists like Tupac. When Tupac
Mm,
was doing his greatest work, I wasn't listening to that. You know, I was like, no, I don't, you know, that, you know, this, just the imagery of his, you know, what I perceived him to be and what him to be about, um, kept me from, you know, even listening to the music.
hmm
But, you know, fast forward years and maybe a decade later, he's like, he wrote, you know, he did some, he wrote a song, one about his mother, who
Right.
was so powerful and so moving, and it touches you, man, because it's like, wow, this,
It does.
you know, this is a deep, this is a deep thought thinking kind of guy who is really doing some deep reflection
For
to bring
sure.
about out these lyrics. So yeah, you're right, and
You
that's the
know,
power of music. Yeah,
that's what I love about you, Dad, is I think you're a pretty open-minded person. A lot of
yeah,
people, a lot of people, even, you know, no matter what the age is, they're not really that open-minded with the type of music that they'll explore. You know, like a lot of people my age might be like, "Oh, I'm not listening to the old music," or
right,
a lot of, you know, black people might be like, I'm never listening to country music, or some other
right,
people that listen to country music are like, oh, rap music is this. But each genre has its own beauty out of it, and the emotions in a lot of these music, some genres do certain emotions in ways that others might, you know, it might be harder for them to tap into. Like I really like how a lot of times, you know, a lot of times country music, I like the way that they still have that yearning or that sort of really going for the woman and expressing I want her, that sort of thing.
yeah, I like
Whereas,
it.
you know, rap music is very, oh, it is what it is, women this, that, like I don't
Right.
need it, I'm cool.
Yeah.
So I have that appreciation for country music. But then at the same time with rap music, I a lot of times I like that there's just some of that underlying like ambition and energy and
Huh.
sort of just and I think that's because of, you know, for the majority of it is a black art form, and there's a lot of kind of that energy of like, yo, we got things we got to do, we got ground we got to cover,
Yeah.
especially in America. So I think there's that energy of motivation, trying to build, trying to you know, grind and hustle. I think that
Right.
is apparent there, especially in you know, some of the more street rap music or things like that. But
Yeah.
also, like you were saying with Tupac and maybe some of the more, you know, street or gangster rap, I think there is some aggression or some, you know, anger or some sort of force that other genres don't really have the capacity to tap into that well. And those are emotions. Like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
sometimes those are emotions that people need songs to illustrate what they're feeling or
Right.
understand that feeling a little bit more. So it's interesting. I think if you're open minded, you can just take some good stuff from all of those different
Mhm.
vibes and genres and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of that's good. And we can go all the way back to the days of uh, Sam Cooke, who had songs that he talked about based on
Sure.
his frustrations. You talk about frustrations. He's talking change is going to come. What the classic song that he created, change. Every time I hear that song, it just takes you to a place where you can feel the pain and frustration of uh, inequality and injustice. And he
Right,
talks
right,
about, you know, it's going to change. It's
right,
going to change, and he's holding on to this hope that his song will be manifested at some time in the future for people. Probably not for him, but for people that
right.
that come beyond him. Hey, hold on, the change is going to come. So that's just a iconic song that kind of mirrors what you're talking about in a
Mm,
different way. He's angry,
yeah,
right? He's
yeah,
frustrated, but the words come out differently, and the lyrics come out differently, right?
yeah,
So it's great to see the dichotomy of those two different genre eras of songs where they're really still thinking about singing about, you know, frustrations and injustice, but they handle it in a different way.
for sure,
You know?
for sure. Okay, this is really interesting. I mean, so we could talk about the music thing all day. I know we don't have all the time in the world, but I'm
Yeah.
interested. Part of this culture is also fashion and just styles
Mhm,
and trends, right? So
mhm.
I'm interested. Take me back to your, mid-20s years.
Mhm.
What was your style? How would you have described your like style when you were my age? And if I mean, because I know you like clothes. I know you say you
Yes,
always like,
absolutely.
you know, looking looking nice, dressing well. So
Yeah,
what type of styles were you wearing, and also where were you going to shop? Like, what was the
yeah.
go-to place?
Yeah, so we didn't have these big brands like some of the ones that we'll talk about, where you have to spend, $500 for a shirt. But we had brands that when you put it on, people knew that you were awake.
Right,
You
right,
understood
right,
about the trends, right? And a lot of it was back in during the era of hip hop. If you look at some of the movies, it was about the shoes. It was about the sneakers, right? It was
right.
definitely about the sneakers. It was about warm ups. It was about like the matching warm up jackets and pants matching, right?
Yep.
And the kangaroo hats. You've seen some of those movies,
Of
right?
course, of course.
So you wearing all those little jumpsuits that match with the kangaroo hats and the sneakers, and it didn't cost a lot to do that though.
Mm,
I mean, it calls for you to probably spend a little bit. If you're in college and you're 20s, probably spend more than you should be spending, but you didn't have to go to the extremes, I believe, to make a statement as some probably do today.
right,
What I mean. So it was different, and everybody could actually jump on that trend. Financially speaking, they could jump. Everybody could jump on it. It might hurt a little bit, but it wouldn't be to the extremes that it would be now to try to be as trending
right.
uh, as some today who are buying these huge expensive brands. But yeah, and so it mattered what you wore. It was a statement that you were uh, in style, if you would, and the music went along with it, with the fashion. I think you would agree that music seems to have always correlated with the fashion
Right.
of today, and so we had that. But when I was in my 20s, um, it wasn't that I was obsessed with clothes back then. I do like clothes, you're right. I've always liked clothes, but I did have to have some pieces, right,
Hmm.
to put in my closet to say that, hey, I'm up on this, right? Just like Kanye say,
Sometimes you gotta let a naysayer know. Sometimes you.
right, I'm up on this. Exactly. So that was the vibe, and I definitely had my share of items to let people know that I'm up on this. Because you and I are big on making sure that we have some swag,
Yeah.
right? My dad had the same thing in his era. He had swag. He shopped at the most expensive men's clothing store in town. He had, he didn't go overboard with having a large quantity, but he had his pieces,
Fair.
right? I
Fair.
love it. I think that's smart. I think I've got my pieces. I might not be able to have that swag every single day, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, but I have my pieces.
Right.
So that
Right.
was what it
Right.
was for me. Yeah, and
Okay.
and I talked about this. Fashion seems to be always the thing that could actually accelerate a person social economic status in their mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Not really, but they can feel like I've elevated my social economic status because I can wear
Right.
this jacket. I can wear these shoes. People see me wearing them, so I feel better about being about where I am, what my status is really because I'm up on it and I can display that to the public, right? So what
What
do
do
you
you?
think
What do
about
you?
that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you think about it too. I think that can be a little bit dangerous
Yes,
because, well, I mean, one, I think we think so much about, okay, what's we're dressing for other people a lot, and I mean,
right. We do.
I think, I think, of course, we care about what other people think to an extent. Like we wanna look nice for other people, but I think at the core, it should be stuff like you like because you like it, that sort of thing.
Right.
Of like, okay, I like this trend. I'm paying this money for this because it means something to me. Like I think it looks cool, and
Yeah.
not just, I don't know, something bothers me about how we're living for other people so much. And I think I know so many of our conversation comes back to social media, but I think social media just makes it so much worse because it's like, okay, I gotta, if I'm going to this event, they're gonna take pictures. I gotta have like a jacket that's gonna be a showstopper. And not only
Yeah.
that, but it's not just okay, let me have a nice piece, but it's like if I post it on social media once, now people feel like I can't wear it again
I've heard that. I've
to
heard
a new
that.
place.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how much guys feel that. I know I've heard girls say that a lot. It's like, oh, I can't wear that again because I
Right.
wore that in the last social media picture.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a slippery slope because at least now, like you said, a lot of these brands, I don't know, the social media switches it a little bit because we see and we have access now to some of the top stuff. So like I think
Hmm.
before it used to be the famous people before social media or like the internet,
Hmm.
the average person, if we're talking average salary wise, I don't think they fully expected to ever be able to wear some of the brands that like these actors, actresses, or famous
Right.
people were wearing. Now in these days we have social media, we have like access to shopping on the internet, and people are like, I can really buy some of these brands. I probably shouldn't, but I
Right.
have access to it. And like you said, if I have access to it, then it can sort of be a signal for how people think of me or see me and that sort of thing. So I think
Yes.
everybody has this mentality where it's like, I can be like, so and so. I can be the star too.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
I just think I think it's a little bit dangerous because you and I talked about this recently, but I just think we focus so much on these signals of things of like,
Yeah.
let me not focus on being a good person and making good interactions with people and letting my
Right.
personality shine through. Let me just wear a Gucci shirt and that'll get people to, pay attention
Right.
to me and flock to me and think I'm talented and get
Hmm.
some followers or yeah, or even with social media. And we do it to other people too. It's like instead of taking the time to know people and know their character or be like, you know what, I had a conversation with them. They're really
Yeah.
cool, really smart, great conversation. If they don't have a bunch of followers, 10,000 followers, we're like,
Wow.
I'm not even going to give them the time of the day. We use these little signals, but okay, if they're wearing fear of God, maybe that means
Yeah.
they know something. Maybe that means they have some money. Whereas you and I both know people wearing fear of God that
Yeah.
have no money in that bank account, and also not even just that, uh, have bad morals, right? So it's
Yes.
like they
Yeah.
have no fear of God in their heart, but they got the sweater on. So I think we got to get back to not caring about some of these signals and just get into the real thing sometimes.
Yeah. No, no, you're absolutely right. And that's one of my mantras that, we're talking about this show is called If I Knew Then What I Know Now. So if I knew then what you're talking about now, I wouldn't have been so preoccupied with what some of the things you talk about. Even though I don't feel like I ever went to the extreme and feel like everything I had to, everything I wore was a statement to justify my worth to
Right.
people. To your point, I wore things that and you and I both do this, and your dad and your grandfather did the same thing. We wear what we like.
Mm,
I've always picked things that I like, whether you like it or not. I like quality, whatever that is, quality. And sometimes some of the nicest articles are some of the, are some of the brands
true.
that really take the time to make the article clothing really really well, make it well.
Right.
And I think you and I have gotten a good eye and sense of a well made piece of art, a piece of clothing.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's what always drove me is that I would, if I see it on the rack or whatever from a distance, it wasn't like, what brand is this
Right.
or how much it is. Like I like that, and typically because of my, my senses of how well something's made. and how well it's designed. I am a graphic designer, by trade. I was. So the quality of the design was what catches my eye. And then I look at the quality of a material, and then I say, I want that. And then typically when I pull off the rack, it's probably one of the most expensive pieces. You know what I mean? So
A lot of times,
that's how that happens,
yeah,
and that's how it ends up in my possession, because it didn't start with, hey, if I wear this, I'm gonna get all these accolades because
right,
this is
right,
a Fear of God brand. No, I never chased accolades because of the brand that I wore. So you're right, and if I knew then what I know now, I would just really be more conscious to know that I don't want to be part of that crowd who actually is wearing stuff on social media just to get some kudos or get some likes or whatever, because that is just a slippery slope
yeah.
financially. We know I'm into financial stewardship, and so you're right. If I even had the notion to really even be a little bit more frugal, I remember times when you came home, and you probably remember this, and you went and shopped and got nice stuff. But I remember you went to what is that place where you go get the refurbished clothes? You remember you've done that before?
Like the
Uh,
thrift store.
yeah, like the thrift store. You would go get a couple shirts and say, I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
this
yeah.
from thrift shop store,
Oh
and
yeah,
wore it just as proudly, because you could match it with something that's quality.
and
And I thought that was
I
real.
think part of it is you got to have some taste, like,
Yeah,
and you got to have some of your own swag. Like, that's why I kind of lose respect sometimes for people that just try to hide behind the brand or like,
right.
and that brand is not going to give you style by itself. That brand is not
No,
going to give you confidence by itself.
no.
You could, and I think a lot of the times the most stylish people we see is like that. Like they could go to a thrift store. It's not what they're
Yeah,
wearing, it's how they're wearing it, it's how they
yeah.
put it together. And
Put
it's
the pieces
also
together.
the confidence that they exude when they wear it. So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, I see a lot of people walking around in like a Prada shirt or something like that, Prada head to toe. I'm like, you still lame, kind of like it's not gonna fix
right.
it's not gonna
No.
fix that. There's not to say there's not Prada stuff that is cool and maybe matches that person's style,
Yeah.
but I think you can just so clearly tell when someone's just like
Yes, you
trying
can.
to throw a brand on to fix it, and it's like
Yeah,
it's not really resonating. It doesn't seem authentic to you.
yeah.
That sort of thing.
Especially when you're branded from head to toe in some sort of high end brand. I mean, shoes, belt,
It's just too much.
shirt.
It's too much.
It's like, come on, what
I'm
are we
like,
doing
okay,
here?
see, whenever I see someone is like Gucci, 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 or this,
Right.
I'm just like, you have no self control. You gotta come on. You gotta balance it out a little bit. And I think that's part of what style is
It is.
balance. I think a
It
lot of
is.
style, which I think you do well, because I think I've seen your style.
Yeah.
I've seen old pictures of you. I've seen you
Yeah.
dress recently. I think in every stage of life, you've always known yourself well, and I think
Yes.
that's a big part of style is
That's a good
not trying
point.
to be someone you're not. You know who you are, because your style, I think, is an extension of you and who you are. And I
It
think
does.
your style can bring out other sides of you, but I think it's just so clear when someone's just trying to act out a little bit with their style and
Yeah.
be someone that they're not. It just doesn't work. It ends up being worse.
Yeah, I love that because I think I've got that from being in advertising and marketing. Just we talk about branding and branding and style. You're right. I know what my style is. I know what my brand is. I know what looks right based
Right.
on my personality, based on how I move. I know what looks right. I know what would look awkward. If I came out with a pink suit and a white brim hat, people
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
that is not you, man. you know, it's
Hey,
like, I
if
don't
you
care what
want
the
to try it,
trending
I'll
style
respect you if you try it, but I'm not mad if you don't.
is.
I'm not
So
mad if
yeah,
you don't.
so I love to design. I love to design on my body. We talk about being a graphic
Right, right,
designer.
right.
I love to design around my shape, my form, my look, and make it people say, "Ah, that's you. That
Right, right,
fits.
right,
That
right.
fits you. That color fits. That this." And you can be creative, right? And so yourself, your body is a palette. Just like, I mean, it's like canvas.
Right, right.
And it's not about putting Prada all over the canvas. It's about designing something that looks right for you based on
Fair.
who you are. I love that. I love what you're saying, and that's why what I think. That's why some of the celebrities. I'm thinking of one right now. I won't mention his name, but they have some great stylists to help them find
Hmm.
themselves and
Hmm.
what works for them and what doesn't work. Because some people just don't have the skill set to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think that's tough. I do think that's tough. But I don't know. I think I appreciate the lessons I've gotten from you in that, because I
Yeah.
think that's something that changes in every phase of your life. Like in the last
Yeah.
episode, we talked about how, at each, as you get older, you get in these different stages of life and you change a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think some people struggle with that too. Like, you know, I see some people 45 still dressing like they're,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know, my age, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Doesn't
work. So
work.
I think it is a process, and it's something I'm realizing right now at this age is like, okay, I'm feel like I'm moving into a different phase of life. It's like I'm getting into the mid 20s, but to the later 20s now,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's like I think my style needs to evolve a little bit to feel like, okay, career wise, how do I want my style to evolve? When I'm hanging out with my friends, how do I like just what phase of life am I in and what feels authentic to right now? So I feel like it's kind of changing, and I think some inspiration helps in different areas. I think that's one of the ways social media is helpful for me, at least. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you can get some inspo. You still got to know yourself and know like
Hmm.
what bucket or what style is really like authentic to you. But you get a lot of inspiration, at least to see like, okay, that person's style kind of reminds me of what I think I could tap into, or
Sure.
this sort of thing. So I think that's a cool part of social media, at
Yeah.
least. What, like, when you were in this age of life, maybe we can wrap up with this.
Hmm.
Where were you going to for like inspiration? Was it celebrities? Was it just local people that are like, that's
Yeah.
interesting? Or do you feel like it was always just, I'm trying stuff myself?
That's a good question. I think it was a little bit of both. If I would be honest about it, I would like to take, 100% of the credit for my style and say, look, I'm an individualist and I do my own thing. But we all are influenced by things, or by music, by everything. We're influenced. So there's been some influences from, maybe celebrities that I've seen, maybe from athletes, because we're really big on watching how athletes how they flex with their clothing, and so I was influenced by some of the athletes back in the day, because back in the day when we had these iconic figures like Dr. J, and even going farther back than that, these guys were they dressed, they had some crazy mad styles, and they
Yeah.
were really attractive. They really they caught my eye. So it was a combination of what those who were supposed to be setting the trends were wearing, celebrities, uh, athletes, and it's also a combination of what I like. Like I said, when I walk into a store and it catches my eye, it doesn't really matter who's wearing it. It's like, I like that, and I'm going to wear it, and it's my design eye,
Right.
because some of the stuff has been these clothes are being created by designers, right? And as being a designer, when you go to art school, you go and you take basic design, form, function, color theory, and then you branch off into different things. Some people become car designers, some people become clothing designers, some people become graphic designers. But the fundamentals of design, we all you start right there. So I have appreciation for anything that's well designed,
Hmm.
and that's what catches my eye. So if the guy, if an athlete or celebrity has something on that's well designed, I'm going to be attracted to it,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to go look for that certain thing that mirrors what they had on, because of the design, because it was well made,
Facts.
right? It was well made, not because of the brand. It was well made. But
Yeah.
I like a couple brands because they got great designers. I appreciate the designers. They have. I won't mention those brands, but I do
They're
like
not
those
they're not
brands.
sponsoring us yet, so they don't get a
Not
mention. But
right, right. And back in the day, I used to wear custom suits.
Yeah, man, I'm a sucker
Because
for
I
that.
could design those suits myself. Basically, get the haberdasher would come to the house, and then we would take out the fabric, and then I will have him cut the suit the way I want it, the colors. And some suits I would pick that probably most people wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you we were talking about that a while ago. I was saying there was an olive suit that I made that I had
Oh
made
man,
that was like bang. It was classic,
the olive suit
and
was cold. They don't know about that.
nobody had it.
They don't know
Nobody
about the
had it.
olive
So when
suit.
I would step out in an olive suit, like, oh my goodness, you know. But that's based on having that eye that I said that suit was work for me. It
Yeah,
worked for my for my style and everything, and it was just bold enough, but
yeah.
not too out there for me. I'm pretty conservative on my stuff. But that's it.
They don't know about that olive suit. I might have to copy you and get a olive suit. That's
Exactly,
that's
man.
some that's some if I knew then what I know now wisdom right there. But I mean,
Right
yeah,
on.
we could talk about this all day. We'll have to save some for the next episode.
Yes.
But
Yes,
I
indeed.
appreciate you, as always, giving some wisdom. It's always fun sort of comparing our generations and stuff.
Sure.
I guess before we leave, any last words you have, just like as we wrap up about all these topics that we've talked about?
Yeah, I think in the same vein of our episodes in our show and our theme is what if I knew what I know now, is just really for us to now start thinking about the impact that music and fashion really makes in shaping our culture, but also more importantly how it shapes our thoughts and our mindset and our philosophy about the world. We talked about the music, being, politically driven. Some music has social content and social meaning. We take all that in when we put on clothes, when we listen to music. It shapes our view of the world. And sometimes we have to look at that and see, what all music and what fashions how they have shaped our thinking and our view of the world, and challenge it and say, is it an accurate assessment of reality, right? Are these clothes that I wear accurate assessment of who I really am? Does the lyrics and the music really shape my attitude about how I think about women or how I think about society, and challenge everything? I like what you do, because I think you question things. You'll say, that's great, but let's question it and let's challenge it and let's see if there's some things that we can look at to come up with a more authentic or a way of looking at things. So yeah, I think that's what we need to do with music. It's a tool, and fashion is a tool as well, to help us to kind of understand culturally where we fit in. So been a good session. I like it.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's been great. Appreciate everybody that tuned in to episode 2 of If I Knew Then What I Know Now. And Dad, we'll get episode 3 coming real soon.
I can't wait. Let's do it. Let me play a couple beats on the drum, the rolls, to get us out. I'm just
You know
kidding.
what? We just ran out of time. Episode 3. We'll get on that. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
See you
Take
guys.
care.